You think silence makes you look guilty. You think walking away from an argument means you lost, and that the manipulator has somehow won the narrative. You believe that because you did not defend your character, because you did not answer their aggressive questions with cold, hard facts, the world will assume you are in the wrong. You are completely wrong. Right now, master manipulators are not trying to beat you with logic. They are relying entirely on your predictable emotional reaction to survive. But they are not afraid of your anger. They are not afraid of your intelligence. They are terrified of your absolute absence. When you fight back against the gaslighter, you are no longer an independent threat. You are a predictable asset participating in their game. Today, we are going inside the dark architecture of the predatory mind. We are going to break down the hidden biological mechanics of a manipulator's ego, and we will expose exactly why the Machiavellian art of strategic silence is the most devastating weapon you can possibly deploy. We will explore the neuroscience of closure denial, the evolutionary biology of conflict, and how doing absolutely nothing forces a liar to completely self-destruct in the dark. If you are tired of losing your peace to people who feed on your chaos, lock your attention on this. Your perception of power is about to shift permanently. Let us begin by dissecting the anatomy of a manipulator's brain. To understand why silence destroys them, you must first understand what fuels them. A dark triad personality, someone exhibiting high levels of narcissism, Machiavellianism, or psychopathy, operates on a massive internal emotional deficit. They do not generate their own self-worth. They extract it from the environment. In clinical psychology, this is known as narcissistic supply. Your reaction, whether it is positive admiration or negative anger, is their biological fuel. When they lie to you, when they disrespect you, and when they ask you a manipulative question to deflect the blame, they are casting a net. They are fishing for a reaction. They want you to yell. They want you to cry. They want you to write a massive, desperate paragraph defending your sanity. Because as long as you are reacting, they know they have absolute power over your emotional state. They know they matter. Your anger is the ultimate confirmation of their significance in your life. When you fight back, you validate their existence. When you ignore them, you erase them. This is where the catastrophic failure of the average empathetic person occurs. The average person believes in the illusion of logic. They believe that if they can just expose the lie, if they can just corner the manipulator with irrefutable evidence, screenshots, and rational arguments, the manipulator will finally break down, apologize, and confess. This is a pathetic and dangerous illusion. A manipulator will never surrender to logic because the interaction was never about the truth. It was strictly about control. When you present them with facts, they will immediately pivot. They will drop a smokescreen. They will ask a question like, "Why are you bringing this up now?" Or, "Are you really going to ruin our entire day over this?" They throw an emotional grenade to derail your logic. And the exact moment you take the bait, the moment you answer their question and start defending your timing or your intentions, the trap snaps shut. You are back in their maze. You are burning your cognitive energy while they sit back, perfectly calm, absorbing your frantic reaction. You played right into their hands. But what happens when you introduce the weapon of absolute silence? What happens when they cast the net and they pull up a completely empty void? This brings us to the hidden psychological mechanism known as closure denial. Human brains, especially the highly insecure and hypervigilant brains of manipulators, are desperately wired for closure. From an evolutionary standpoint, the brain needs to understand cause and effect to predict future threats. They need to know that their tactic worked. When a liar asks you a loaded question, and you look them dead in the eyes and say absolutely nothing, their brain suffers a massive neurological short circuit. They do not know how to process a void. Without your verbal or emotional reaction, they have zero data. They do not know if you believe the lie. They do not know if you saw straight through the deception. They do not know if you are planning revenge or if you simply do not care about their existence anymore. You have plunged their nervous system into absolute darkness, and darkness is exactly where the ego starves to death. To a manipulator, being ignored is a biological fate, far worse than being attacked. Let us elevate your identity within this power dynamic. The old version of you was terrified of awkward silences. You rushed to fill the gap. You rushed to answer the manipulative question because society conditioned you to believe that silence made you look weak, confused, or submissive. But you are ascending to a level of clinical observation. You are joining the minority of elite minds who understand that silence is not the absence of an answer. Silence is the most aggressive, deafening answer possible. It communicates supreme, untouchable indifference. When you refuse to engage with the manipulator's deflection, you are sending a biological signal of pure apex dominance. You are telling their subconscious mind, your game is so transparent, your tactics are so pathetic, and your existence is so irrelevant that you do not even warrant the expenditure of my breath. You see the mechanism clearly, while they are drowning in the suffocating silence you just created. This leads directly to the Machiavellian concept of calculated inaction. The greatest strategists in human history understood that some battles are won exclusively by refusing to show up to the battlefield. When a liar realizes that their questions are failing, when they realize that you are completely unbothered by their gaslighting attempts, their internal anxiety will spike violently. Because they lack internal stability, they will begin to panic. And in that panic, they will make massive, unforced errors. They will try a different, more obvious lie. They will start over-explaining their own alibi without you even asking for it. They will contradict their previous statements. By doing absolutely nothing, you force them to fight a ghost. You force them to exhaust their own cognitive resources, trying to provoke a wall of solid stone. Calculated inaction proves that your internal reality is a heavily fortified structure that their external chaos cannot penetrate. You watch them squirm. You watch them break their own narrative, and you do not lift a single finger to help them or to stop them. You do not need to destroy a liar. You just need to let the silence do it for you. We must dive deeper into the neuroscience of this interaction. When someone attacks you verbally, your amygdala immediately triggers the fight or flight response. Cortisol floods your veins. Your heart rate elevates. Your body is preparing for physical combat, which makes your brain want to lash out with words. The elite operator understands this biological response and overrides it using the prefrontal cortex. You must train yourself to detach from the chemical flood. When the confrontation happens and the manipulator deploys their inevitable counter-question, you must control your breathing and hold your ground. If they ask, "Why are you being so overly sensitive about this?" you hold unbroken, cold eye contact. You do not scowl. You do not smile. You do not roll your eyes. You present a completely blank, clinical face. You let the heavy, suffocating tension stretch for 5, 10, 15 seconds. The tension in the room will become physically unbearable, but it will not be unbearable for you. It will be unbearable for them. Because nature abhors a vacuum, the manipulator will eventually be forced to fill the silence themselves. They will start talking. And the more they talk, the more they will expose the ugly truth. Your silence acts as a psychological mirror, reflecting their own guilt, inadequacy, and insecurity right back onto them. You must understand that not everyone deserves to be ignored in the exact same way. There is a hierarchy to your silence. First, there are your active enemies, the people spreading rumors, attempting to sabotage your reputation, and trying to pull you into public drama. Most people try to expose their enemies. They want justice. They want everyone to know the truth. But engaging with an active enemy validates their campaign. It gives them the exact stage they are desperately seeking. Instead, you erase them. You do not expose them. You do not fight them. You keep building your empire, and you let your escalating success become their daily psychological torture. Second, there are the critics. People who build nothing but constantly critique those who do. Critics need you more than you need them. Without a target, their existence is meaningless. When you argue with a critic, you are keeping them alive. You cut them off with complete indifference. You let them scream their paragraphs into the void while you continue to execute your vision. And finally, there are the energy parasites. The covert manipulators disguised as friends or partners who constantly drain your empathy with endless manufactured crises. You do not owe them a grand explanation for your departure. You simply withdraw your access. You stop answering the late-night texts. You stop offering solutions. You let the connection wither and die in the cold environment of your unavailability. Your attention is the most expensive currency in the world. Stop spending it on cheap people. This level of discipline requires the death of your ego's desire to be right. You have to let go of the fantasy that the toxic person will one day wake up, realize the error of their ways, and offer you a profound apology. They will not. They are biologically incapable of taking that level of accountability without their fragile ego shattering entirely. When you finally accept that you cannot change them, you are liberated. You stop trying to teach morality to a predator. You realize that your desire to have the last word was actually keeping you chained to them. The last word is a trap. It is a pointless trophy that losers fight over while the winner has already left the building. You do not need the last word when you have the ultimate power of departure. Think about the most powerful, untouchable individuals you have ever encountered. They do not rush to defend themselves against baseless accusations. They do not write long, emotional essays in the comment sections. They operate with a profound sense of verbal scarcity. When they speak, the room listens, because their words are rare and calculated. When they give you their attention, you feel the weight of it, because you know their perimeter is heavily guarded. The tragedy of the chronic reactor is that in their desperate attempt to control the narrative, they mathematically guarantee that they will be viewed as erratic, emotional, and weak. Your constant availability for arguments is destroying your social status. You are treating your energy like a clearance sale and then wondering why people are treating your boundaries like cheap merchandise. People do not respect what they can easily provoke. If they can anger you, they own you. This is the quiet superpower that separates the elite from the herd. The masses exhaust themselves in endless, screaming arguments. They bleed their cognitive energy into people who will never change. They surrender their sovereignty every single time they let a manipulator dictate their emotional state. They let a passing comment ruin their entire week because they lack the armor of indifference. But you are no longer playing that exhausting game. You have mastered the dark psychology of absence. You understand that your words are an exclusive privilege, and your attention is a finite resource that must be ruthlessly protected. When you master strategic silence, you become impossible to read. You become impossible to predict, and you become utterly impossible to control. You transition from the reactive victim of a lie to the cold, calculating architect of your own reality. You watch the manipulators run their scripts, you see the traps laid out before you, and you simply step around them without breaking your stride. While others chase closure, you manufacture it instantly through your own indifference. While others beg to be understood, you rest comfortably in the power of being unbothered. That is not arrogance. That is the essence of true Machiavellian power. It is the realization that your peace is worth infinitely more than their validation. Now you know the hidden mechanism. You know why your silence is their greatest fear. Stop fighting battles beneath your level. Subscribe to see reality clearly.